Thank you for tuning into Crime 411. I have an update in regard to the case regarding 5-year-old Keaton Boggs, who was brutally beaten and murdered by his biological grandmother, Michelle Boggs, who you can see here on the right, his biological aunt, which is Michelle's daughter, Chastity Wodzinski, and her husband, Keaton's uncle, Peter Wodzinski. At this time, all three remain in custody, and there has been no bond issued, which is a big win for Keaton. I do not know whether or not bond will be offered at a later date when there's a court date, but I am assuming that it won't, based on what I was able to find out, that in West Virginia, certain criteria such as murder cases and things like that are often ineligible for bond. And I am hoping, based on the details that they have in this case, that these three monsters are not eligible for bond, because certainly know that they do not belong anywhere but where they're sitting right now. I had gotten messages from some of our viewers, and they had questions because Michelle Boggs was listed as Keaton's legal guardian. Chastity and Peter are listed as his legal custodians. And a few people, including myself, had some questions as to what exactly that means. So I was able to do a little bit of research on that as well, and I wanted to explain that to everyone. So a legal guardian is someone who is appointed to take care of a child if, in a situation like this, the child's parent passes away. Keaton's father, biological father, Chris, passed away last summer, and Michelle Boggs was appointed his legal guardian at that time. His biological mother, Jessica, was in rehab and working and taking the proper steps to reunite with Keaton. But at that time, she was not able to take care of him, and that is why his legal guardianship was given to his grandmother, Michelle. A legal custodian is different. A legal custodian is someone that is appointed to handle specifically any assets that are inherited to a minor child if a parent passes away. So that could be property, money, anything like that. More often than not, and it's unusual to see this, where a legal guardian is not also the legal custodian. But it does happen. I don't know why, but in this particular case, his grandmother, Michelle, was given legal guardianship, which means she is responsible for the day-to-day raising of the boy. That includes, any religion that they may practice, any sort of extracurricular activities that he would want to participate in. She would make decisions about that, medical decisions, dental decisions, where the child would go to school and things along that nature. Whereas a legal custodian is legally only in charge, or I should say responsible for handling the assets that the child might inherit from a deceased parent until they become a certain age where they're able to take those assets on and handle them themselves. So that is the difference between a legal guardian and a legal custodian. I don't know why in this particular situation both appointments were not given to Michelle. That does raise some questions. I kind of wondered, did they not find her fit to handle his assets? If that's the case, why would they find her fit to raise his child, right? I don't know. I did make some phone calls to see if I could find out a little bit more about that today, but I have not been able to reach anyone. I know that things are, a little bit crazy right now everywhere in the country with this coronavirus, but I'm hoping that I will get some answers, and as I get those answers, I will be more than happy to update all of you. That is what I know at this time about that. We also did some research into the claim that there was a friend named Dawn, a friend of Chastity's, Keaton's aunt, who was believed to work at CPS. We found out who this lady is. She does not work for CPS. She does work in working with children to help them reach milestones. So she comes out to different homes and she works with children to help them reach milestones, whether it be walking, talking, speech, reading, whatever milestones children might have struggles in. She will come out to the home and work with those children. Now, that being said, I was told, and I have not verified this yet, but I'm working on it. I was told that that Dawn Bailey, who is that lady, had been working with Chastity's daughter for the past 3 or 4 years, and she was scheduled to come out to their home to work with Chastity's daughter back in February on the 5th, when Chastity said it would be okay for Keaton to stay overnight at his great-grandmother's house, which is Michelle, the grandmother's mother. And she, Judy, the great-grandmother, lives with Marcus, who is Judy's nephew, which is the gentleman that I spoke with earlier, that I talked about on the last video. I made a mistake. I said Michelle's nephew. It was actually Judy's nephew. So I want to correct that as well. Anyhow, my thought process on that is that she allowed Keaton to sleep over at his great-grandmother's house, knowing that Dawn was coming out to work with her daughter, probably because she knew that if she saw Keaton covered in those bruises and injuries, that she was either going to call Child Protective Services or the law. And she didn't want him to be there when this lady came out to work with her daughter. That's my guess. I'm not stating that as a fact, but that is what I think. I also found out that the nephew, Judy, the great-grandmother's nephew, and his wife, they called CPS, but they believed that the first time they called was actually in January, after seeing pictures of him, the pictures I showed in the last video where he was just covered in bruises. And there have been a lot of speculation as to whether or not those folks actually called CPS at all, because people don't seem to believe that CPS drops the ball and doesn't follow through. But they drop the ball all the time. It happens all the time. You have to keep in mind that these folks are inundated with cases. They are so overworked. Anybody that has ever worked at CPS will tell you that they had 3 times the amount of cases that they should have been given to handle at any given time. And I believe that some of those folks do their best to keep up with it and to do everything within their power to make sure that their cases are followed through on properly. I believe some are overwhelmed and have good intentions, but just aren't able to keep up. And I believe there are also some people that work at CPS that really just don't care and shouldn't be in that position. But I did speak with Marcus's wife, and she is going to reach out to her phone provider to pull the phone records to prove to folks and also to law enforcement that CPS was in fact contacted in this case. And that is crucial information, because if they were contacted and nobody followed up, that is a major, major problem. And I personally have a major problem with that. So I will be following up with them in regard to those phone records. I don't know how long it's going to take. I do keep in mind that a lot of these companies, AT&T, T-Mobile, their workers are working from home right now due to the coronavirus. They are limited on what they're able to access. So if we don't get that information out in the next few days, please don't jump the gun and assume that these folks are lying. Understand that we are in a crisis right now throughout the entire country, and everyone is working and doing as best as they can to keep up with requests that are made. But we are going to follow up on that, and as soon as I have information about that, I will share it with you. I am going to be interviewing Keaton's mother, Jessica, tonight. I am scheduled to speak with her at 9:30 Central Time. And as soon as I conclude that interview, I will go ahead and upload it so that anybody who wants to follow that story can log on and see what Keaton's mother would like to share. And I do want to thank her. She's 403 days sober today, and we applaud you for that, Jessica. Great job. And I do want to thank her again for taking time to speak with us. I know this is probably one of, if not the most horrific thing she will ever go through in her life. And for her to take time out of her day to speak to us about her precious son means a lot to us. So I will update everybody in regard to that interview as soon as I conclude that with her, and upload that onto our Facebook and our YouTube, as well as to Instagram and Twitter. Again, please remember to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Again, we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Our website is crime411.org so that you get notifications about the things that are coming out about this case and other cases as well. Thank you again for choosing Crime 411 as a source of information, and we will see you later tonight.